Welcome to another episode of Off Her Tree, the podcast where we dive deep into the wild, unexpected, and transformational journeys of awakening. And today we have a truly special guest, Andreas Prohl, a dedicated student and teacher of A Course in Miracles, founder and organizer of the International ACIM Festival in Germany, and co-founder of the Aleph Academy.
Yeah.
Is it Aleph? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Andreas has spent years immersed in the teachings of A Course in Miracles, guiding countless individuals through their own spiritual journeys. But awakening isn't always smooth sailing. It comes with deep challenges, profound shifts, and moments of both surrender and resistance. So if you've ever wondered what it truly means to live in forgiveness, non-duality, and trust, this episode is for you. So settle in, open your heart, and let's dive deep into the wisdom and experience of Andreas Prohl.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming along, Andreas.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for the invite.
Obviously, we've spoken a couple of times now because there's quite a lot of stuff coming up in the world of A Course in Miracles, but I think we'll start with your journey. So can you share a little bit about your background and how you first came across A Course in Miracles?
Yeah, of course. Well, it kind of started with an insight, and those were little moments where I thought, I think life is simple. Life is meant to be simple. Life is not really threatened, and somehow there is a core in each of us that just wants to connect and just wants to be in communication. But of course, these are fleeting moments, like you've got just insights into it, and then the regular mind just covers those insights, and you wonder how you ever got there. And so glimpses here and there were showing me a different perspective, but I couldn't access it, and I felt more, really in fear, and I felt that I can't find this connection with everyone. So, of course, the result is that you feel lonely. I felt lonely. I felt afraid of the future. I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't know how to see myself or where my place in society is. I was doing well though. Like I was studying business administration, and I was doing okay. I had several jobs in between, and they welcomed me. I functioned well in the world, so to say. But something didn't add up. Like I had the feeling it kind of doesn't make sense. Like nowhere does my work really address me. Like nowhere do I see myself be nurtured, for example, or nowhere do I see that I'm really into my passion. And so it felt empty and senseless. And having that prospect, like being, how old was I, 25 or so, 25, 26, and then seeing, okay, I will embark on a career, do all sorts of stuff, but I won't know what the purpose is. So that wasn't an insight I could agree on. Like I didn't want to spend my life like that. And so despite the feelings of fear that I had with no particular reason, and mm, yeah, just questioning myself, what am I doing here? What am I doing here in this world? It was really the sense of lack of purpose that wasn't acceptable to me. So I kept searching. And of course, when you start searching, there's an answer. When you knock, the door will be opened. And I had an experience of that this actually really is my own thought. All of this is my own thought, and it has no other substance. There's nothing behind it. It has no origin. It doesn't come from anywhere. And that was ground shaking for me to not just to read it, but to actually live it, to have it as a very vivid experience. And behind that, I could hear a very clear, certain, and calm, and yet very alive voice speaking to me. And it said, the beginning is always now. And so that was like,
Wow.
where did that come from? Like I was kind of questioning myself, like, is that some hallucination or something? do I have some psychotic thing happening that I wasn't aware of before?
Mm.
But it was so clear that it was not really questionable. My background is atheism, so I believed in science. And
Oh, that's
yeah,
interesting.
I had no connection to God, religion,
Mm.
spirituality, nothing. Like my time as a child and as an adult, yeah, basically was without God. I was without anything that kind of reached beyond the physical plane. But uh, nevertheless, I couldn't shake that experience, and that was, of course, you could imagine that this is kind of a kickstart
Sure.
to search further. And yeah, so A Course in Miracles. Shortly after that experience, A Course in Miracles came into my life, and yeah, and it was a bumpy road from there on.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
just curious, just to come back to sort of obviously, business administration and following the path that we think we're supposed to go down. The way the world is designed, and find the career and just go along with those. I guess what will support you in life financially, and maybe then the family, and it's like it's all mapped out. But I think most of us have that sense of something is missing. Like, what is this? What's it for? And it sounds
right.
like that's what you're describing. But obviously, only being 25 and having these ideas and doubts, like was there a low-lying kind of level of anxiety that you were experiencing, would you
Yeah,
say?
absolutely. And
Yeah.
um, I didn't want to settle with that. I didn't want to settle with the fear because I
Mm,
didn't even know where it came from.
mm,
And I was willing to do whatever is necessary to uncover that or to undo it. I saw that in a way, no one could really help me in that because it was my decision. Do I want to live with it or do I want to do something about it? And so, funnily enough, that kind of made it clear to me that I have to communicate directly with the universe. And
yeah.
then like, okay, I'm claiming my full potential now. I'm not going to live
Mm,
like this. You
mm,
got to give me something. And right at the beginning, the experience that I told you about when I heard the voice saying the beginning is always now, uh, it may be a coincidence, but maybe not. I thought whoever was communicating with me at that time, or whatever communicated with me in that time, knows me full well because it spoke to me in symbols that only I personally know,
mm,
like internally. And I thought, so if there's an authority or some sort of whatever you would call it, force or intelligence, loving intelligence, it will also know that I'm checking my emails quite often, and maybe there's a message for me. So I checked my emails right
I
after that
love this.
experience, and there was one email, and the text was, "Don't stop."
Wow.
And that blew me out of my, like, that was the confirmation on top of the confirmation. Like, this is
Mm,
the way. Keep going further. Trust this. And yeah, even though you don't understand it, even though you, yeah, can't comprehend it or grasp it, keep going towards that direction.
mm,
And of course, it leads us to A Course in Miracles. It says, yeah,
mm.
no coincidences in salvation. Your path is perfectly set out. You're always safe and guided. The miracles you need to remember who you are all given you. And now let's get to work. Let's forgive.
So were you, obviously, that just the first glimmers then that you were getting, like, okay, this isn't right, but there's something else, and obviously the voice. Were you in any kind of practice at all at that point?
Like I met a friend who suggested meditation.
Mm,
And I thought, yeah, that would be nice. But I wasn't in an active practice back then. Like it was more like, I think it's good. It's good to do it. So I sit down, sit with myself, breathe a bit. But it wasn't like a deep practice, or there was no mentor, there was no teaching behind it,
mm.
no pathway or anything like that. So it felt like a reactivation, actually. Like, because in that moment you feel like, okay, finally things start to become meaningful, or it's almost like getting back on track with something. And now, from this perspective, things become meaningful. But of course, it's nothing that you initially can stay in all the time or make it accessible to you. It's like a high. You have experienced a high, and then you come back to the regular dull mind with, all the
Yeah.
distracting thoughts.
And the resistance and the doubt that that creeps in and starts to question, did that really just happen? And it's
Yeah.
sneaky. It's so sneaky.
Back then, it was also helpful because I saw I need some sort of teacher or some sort of exercises that help me to overcome those obstacles. But
Sure.
of course, like I had no idea of A Course in Miracles back then. But I just knew it needs some kind of training that is unlike any other training that I know.
Mm.
That was the only insight I had.
So how did that arrive then? How did the course? So did you kind of put it out there like, okay, I need help with this and expect kind of something to come back? Like, did it just arrive, or did you actually actively seek?
Yeah. Pretty much arrived immediately.
Mm,
But you get the thick book and you think, well, that can't be it. It needs to be something else, something more beautiful. So I bought a bunch of books and just read a lot of stuff, but it was more confusing than anything else. And I also got into A Course in Miracles, and the first 100 pages and the first 50 lessons, like it didn't feel like it's doing me any good. It felt more like this is actually making it worse. Like I'm so much in fear that I put it away and I stay with my Buddhist practice or something like that.
okay.
Oh, but there was also the time when like I decided that after finishing university, I decided I need to do something now. Like now stepping into a career, that's the least sensible thing. I need to clarify first what's going on, what reality is, who I am, and stabilize that. Before that happens, I'm not doing anything. So I traveled to Australia I ended up being there 3 years, and I took a whole bunch of books with me, like a backpack of that size, and half of it was full with books, including A Course in Miracles. So I read through it, and the remaining book, actually, I'm looking that way because it's here. Uh, that book was in the backpack. That's like
Wow,
16,
that's
17
that's
years
seen
ago.
some stuff.
In Australia, you can tell, it's a bit rugged.
Wow, eh?
So it hit home after a while. Like I had to put it down for a year when I started it.
Mm,
Um, and then my surroundings stabilized. I got a job. Started to have friends and an apartment. I didn't just travel in a car through Australia, but had like an environment where I could stabilize. And then I could hear the course. I could hear A Course in Miracles. The voice came through for the first time, and it was amazingly beautiful.
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. That sometimes we just can't hear it. We can't if the mind isn't quite ready for it, and especially it sounds like you already had quite a lot of stuff going on, trying to, like you say, trying to stabilize, trying to be in the world whilst also kind of not knowing, well, not believing the world is real and that kind of thing, and then trying to make sense of it. Then when you try and do the lessons, it can be like that. I mean, I know for me, I've had experiences where I've tried to put the course down. I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's enough for now. And then it's still in my hand.
Yeah.
Like I said, put it down. It's
I'm
like,
not
oh,
looking
it's here again.
it. Open it up. Okay.
Why am I still reading this book? Yeah,
That
it's
is amazing.
amazing.
It's
Amazing.
amazing that it works despite our resistances. It's really,
Yeah.
it's really amazing.
It is because it finds you. It finds you and it's like it's part of your story. It's part of your journey.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna do what it's gonna do.
Totally. We are on the hook, it's not letting go.
Absolutely. So how long into the course then? So obviously you did it you did the sort of first 50 lessons that didn't seem to do work in the way that you thought, and then you
Right.
left it a year and then you started again. So So what were the major changes that you started to see in your life, and then did you carry on with your career? Did you go into work, or what unfolded then?
I already kind of stepped out of the career
Mm,
path. I just knew I wanted to work, and of course, like financially also, I needed some sort of work. So I became a college administrator for holistic counseling college. So there was like a mix between business and
mm,
spiritual education. So that was a really nice backdrop for this initial phase of mine in the mind training. But I felt more, the more I went into the course where it says this world isn't real, like I was, of course, questioning everything.
mm,
And I was willing to go all the way. But, the problem with that is the thought of sacrifice of sacrificing something is so much there that it feels like I have to sacrifice or let go of stuff.
mm,
So I thought maybe it's not working at all anymore. Maybe it's just living in a cave somewhere, or just being a totally random wild person living somewhere in the outback of Australia. That was a thought that I had for a while,
mm,
but Jesus has different plans. So he guided me through all layouts of life, basically, that I thought were valuable. And he has shown me, no, that's not it. There's not the answer. That's not the answer. That's not the answer. That's not the answer. So I was still fairly young as a human being in that sense.
yeah.
So I wasn't into any structure. I wasn't into any family setting whatsoever. I was like, do with me whatever you want. Like, put me in the desert, I'll be fine. Put me into a city, I'll be fine. And so my path was like traveling around a lot and changing surroundings a lot. And at a certain point where I felt that this is really about forgiving my conditioning in that sense, or my past lessons, I knew that I had to go back to Germany to get in touch with my conditioning better, to better see the environment mm, that has shaped my ego, basically, or wherewith
Mm,
shaped my ego.
yeah.
And so I was happily going back, and yeah, thought, okay, now maybe I'm stable enough for a career, and I give it a good go. But nope, but that wasn't it either. I
Right.
kind of joined a community that was living A Course in Miracles full time, and those were my next 3 years in that. So
Wow.
being in touch with others who practice this in a very
Mm.
dedicated way was where I ended up for those coming years.
Yeah. So I guess I'm curious to understand, well, a couple of things. The first thing is kind of the guidance and how that came through, whether it was like a voice, but yeah, I know you mentioned a voice, but whether it was very kind of clear, or whether it was based very much on feeling, and how you discerned between the voice of the ego sometimes and maybe
Hmm.
the guidance. Were there ever any um challenges around, is that the voice, or is that the ego speaking? Did you have much of that?
Yeah, of course. And mm, but for me, it was more like a play. Like for early on my path, I kind of developed some sort of approach to a spiritual teaching or to my life, like how I wanted to see my life. For example,
Mm,
one pillar was at the end, I'm only responsible for myself, or I'm only responsible towards myself. Like if I'm doing things that are not in line with the convictions of a society or of my upbringing, I'm sorry. It's my life. So I have to make the steps that feel right and beneficial for me at this time. And I'm sure I will make mistakes, but I will have to make mistakes to learn. Like if you learn, it doesn't mean like you won't make mistakes. So I kind of played with the guidance thing, or with what kind of decision am I supposed to make here? And I made steps that were not really popular
mm,
with my family, for example, because they were fearing losing me, or this guy, our son is kind of letting his life hit the wall, kind of thing. So it was
mm.
difficult for them. But
All their dreams for what they had
they had
hoped
put
for
so much,
you.
Yeah, so I'm kind of disappointing all their hopes. Like, not even disappointing all their hopes, but it's like it's the worst thing that I could do, I was doing.
Mm,
And but I knew I had to explore that because it was so important for me. Like when you do a Course in Miracles, I'm sure like almost everyone has this. This is not a hobby or something. It is something that touches you so deeply that you can't just, as you said, you can't just put it aside even, you know. I have to follow this and have to explore it so whatever the message is in this becomes way more tangible, way more accessible to me. The holy instant, forgiveness, miracles,
mm,
transcending the world, or you know, all this kind of stuff. The world will disappear in light. Like you can't. There are moments where you can't compromise on that.
sure.
And of course, in my limited mind, I thought it would mean it's a certain form. I need to be, I need to have a certain surrounding to do that, or I need to explore certain things I want to do in this world to facilitate the Course in Miracles. But mm, yeah, his teaching is always different.
Mm,
He always says like it's really this moment. It really is just this moment.
yeah.
So we explore everything and then we come back to the essence.
And how much of obviously the lesson you do the lessons every day, which are helpful for undoing the mind, but there seems to be a lot of practice as well around seeing what's in front of you, seeing your beliefs, seeing your judgments, and then practicing the forgiveness around that. So is that kind of why the community has been useful for you, and how did you practice that? Can you give us an example?
Yeah, sure. Like I saw that the workbook is actually it's good to follow it. Like it's just good to follow the instructions. And I
Mm,
was good in that anyway. I was determined to do that. Of course, I didn't make it perfectly. Like I missed many lessons in the beginning, but I was doing that. But I wanted to be because I didn't know anyone. I didn't know how this works. How is this supposed to look like? What does it look like when you do it right? You know, like
mm,
these kind. How do I know I'm doing it right? Maybe I'm doing it wrong.
yeah.
So I wanted to be around people who are dedicated to their own spiritual awakening and their own change of mind. And there was also a practice, like we had sessions every morning and sometimes like in the evenings as well. So there was like a kind of practice period set aside every day. So that kind of facilitated that. But
Mm,
I was kind of more soaking up everything I could get to see how do you actually do this? How do you live this? And how do you teach this? How do you teach A Course in Miracles?
mm,
It's so beyond our wildest expectations or wildest dreams that, like, even, you know, in some spiritual practices, they say you can't talk about it. As soon as you talk about it, it's already not the teaching anymore
yeah.
because it's way beyond that.
Mm,
So I just wanted to see how others are doing that and how they live, what their life looks like. And that was very important to me to really experience that.
mm.
Mm.
And so when did you actually step into becoming a teacher then? When did it feel like that was the right time? Like, okay, now this is going to be my life.
My life, I don't know. I don't know when I decided that, but I knew that there's a strong impulse in me to teach.
Mm,
That was already the case in Australia, and but again, I didn't know how, and I didn't have an audience. So how do you do it? And when I first came to the community, I felt I was given the chance to teach. Everybody was given a chance to teach regularly, and I saw that the technology came up so that we could actually have online teachings, like something like Zoom or YouTube and all these kinds of things that we have nowadays. That wasn't regular back then. So we really had to set something up with technical stuff and code and website things and stuff. So I felt this is my opening where I can teach whenever I want. I wanted to have a
mm,
platform where I could because it's so strong in me to express it because it is a way how I can hear it. So
yeah,
it
I
wasn't
get
like,
that.
yeah, I've got it now and I've got to tell the world. It wasn't like that.
Yeah,
It was more
yeah.
like, I need to move it in my mind. Maybe you know That
Yeah. I feel that. Yeah.
Mhm. Because it's a
And it's
way.
just for you, because it's
It's just
just
for
for
me.
you.
Exactly, it's just for me, and it can't
Yeah.
just stay in here, you know.
Mm,
And so I saw that this is possible, that the technology is available, and it was more like a gradual process to make that, to build that more and more into my days
mm,
and to give it away. And from, because it's a Course in Miracles, it's always fresh, it's always new. Every time I can really hear it in my own mind, I'm reborn. The world is shining. I'm looking into a bright future. You know, like who wouldn't want that? Like if
mm.
teaching is your access to that, like why would you drop it?
Beautiful.
And
Yeah.
so that's the only thing that keeps me with it, because everything else, like the audience, sometimes there's audience, sometimes there's none, sometimes it grows and you're like, yay, fantastic, and then drops
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Uh, Sometimes you receive money, sometimes not, sometimes you pay money to make it happen.
Mm,
An event, for example. But in the heart of it, uh, when I hear it, all the promises are kept.
mm.
So that's not a question.
Yeah, that's really interesting hearing you say all that, because I guess it's it's if you've got that strong inspiration to share it, um, it's kind of like the people that are that need to hear it will hear it, and it's not for us to dictate that being on a grand scale or a smaller scale. And
Right.
also, I think there's some people where it feels like everything's arriving, but maybe there's some of us that need to be a little bit more proactive, just depending on where our
Yeah.
gifts are. And so yeah, it's just following that. It's following the drive and what feels good.
Right.
So it's
And
beautiful to
mind
hear
you,
you say that.
sometimes it feels counterintuitive, really, because, for example, like making videos or recording videos, I had such a strong resistance to it.
Mm,
It was the most amazing experience, actually, because I had a resistance and I was doubtful, but yet doing it was one of the easiest things ever. So
mm.
before, during, and after recording a video, I was just in the tech thoughts, basically. But yet doing it was super smooth.
Because it's like you've got out of the way and
Yeah,
it's
I got
coming
out of the way.
through.
And it was really meant, like it's like with Helen, Helen Schuckman, who was in
Mm.
such resistance bringing down that course, and yet she did it. She wasn't like openly asking for, please use me as a scribe, something to
She
many.
didn't want some of it, did she? She was a bit like, no, not today.
It was
Okay.
right.
Brilliant,
No good.
brilliant. So I think it'd be nice to understand, so how long have you been doing the course? And obviously it's part of your daily life. How much do you still see the ego thought system in play? Or can you still just you can watch it at work, but you just disidentified with it? Or like
Yeah,
I guess it's interesting to understand the level of expectation I think people can have around where if the ego actually does completely go, or what does it take, and or do we just is there an expectation that it will go when actually it's just about knowing what's talking.
right. I think it doesn't really matter so much if we see it or not. I feel from the teachings that this holy instant always offers more than I previously accepted. So there's always more.
Mm,
God only gives. It's only ever more expanding.
sure.
So I know that notion of, okay, and then the switch is on and it's always on. So,
Mm,
and then we're good. And this is the aim of A Course in Miracles. And maybe it is. But practically, how I experience this moment, my life, I see that it's a constantly choosing again, constantly choosing
yeah.
again. Because, it's so subtle. Like we build a whole world that isn't there. And we're justifying it in a way that we're not aware of either. So
Mm,
the blocks come to the surface and we might be surprised. Like, I'm the good guy. I'm not thinking like that. Oh, yeah, I might actually
mm,
think that. Okay, I'm actually, if I dig deeper, I see how terrible my attack thoughts are. But
Yeah.
they've been smoothed over, glossed over, projected. So it's an ongoing process.
Mm.
But what I see, and I really experienced that, is that the experience that Jesus talks about in the Course is really becoming more accessible. Like the processes of transformation, when shit hits the fan. Um, Whereas I've been in there for weeks before, or days or hours, like I can really see how this really becomes polished, streamlined,
Mm.
opened, more transparent, less defensive. So there are benefits that I'm consciously aware of. And
Yeah.
so it's really worth staying with it.
I mean, I guess what I've noticed is there's a much more of a willingness now to, when something arrives, which I would have blamed somebody else for, or been like, well, that's you, it's not me, whatever. As you start to do the work and realize that everything you are seeing, like you say, is coming from your attack thoughts, there's more willingness to go, okay, where is it? And go
Yeah.
and sit and be with it so that you can undo it in your mind because it works. But I
Yeah.
guess in the beginning, it's more about, there's just this real kind of confusion around how am I seeing that when that's not in me?
Yeah.
And the deep work is, which I feel really grateful for now, is to go in and say, okay, where is it? There it is. I can find it there. And
Exactly.
the miracles are amazing, like when you choose, like you say, when you choose again, because
Mhm.
because we are so programmed to see it as in the other and in the situation, and actually all we need to do is choose again with Holy
Mhm.
Spirit, and the miracles just happen in real time.
Right. Exactly. And
Beautiful.
we're starting off with the lessons and we just apply them maybe
Mm,
without seeing that they have any benefit for us. But yeah, it's a training. So I stay with the practice and go with the instructions.
mm.
And that will bring about the change of mind.
And as a teacher then, so what do you feel is like the biggest challenge in teaching people or helping people
Sure.
with the course? And yeah, it'd be just good to understand, what your experience of working with lots of people is around, yeah, the
I
challenges.
think the challenges are to settle with some form of understanding. Uh, that's what I see within me, and that's what I see within others. Oh, now I understand. It's like this and that. And last week I had this experience. There was a beautiful miracle, and then we settle with it and say, "No, I know what the miracle is. It's working for me. I'm glad. I'm happy." But
Right.
that's actually a block. And
Mm,
to point that out and to really join in my own mind. I can only point it out if I join in my own mind with Christ. And to say, yeah, this is all nice. Thank you for your understanding, but let's move beyond the concepts into a present experience, a universal experience. And that's where the hindrances lie, because we all know so much already. We know it all, and then we think, oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I'm in that experience now. No, we're not. We're in fear. This is fear. Yeah, no, this is not fear. I feel good. So those are, it's tricky. It's tricky in a way, but
mm,
if I have, as he says in psychotherapy, doctor, physician, heal yourself. The student is coming to me for my own healing. So it's my own learning opportunity.
mm,
And if I have the patience, if I learn not to attack magic thoughts, both of us are helped. And there might be a chance it will actually turn into a proper experience.
mm.
And this is what I'm going for, that this becomes an experience because this is convincing.
But how do you point out a magic thought without it being considered,
You
and
can
like
only,
you said, an attack?
you can only work around it. Like you can only see if I resist it in my own mind, I have something to learn. I see the magic thought, and it's something that I can undo in my mind, and then just go with whatever the Holy Spirit shows me, and just, become once more patient, once more trusting in my students in that sense. And just that, like, it's very simple, but just those little movements in my own mind, they open up a new room. That's a new space where everybody can easily join into. And of course, it's like every undoing process, I think, is uncomfortable, feels uncomfortable. It is, in that sense, work, if you want. But it's so worth it because the entire world changes and you're taking everyone with you. So it's an amazing tool that we've been given to use.
Absolutely. So with just speak to us a little bit about the magic thoughts then.
Yeah.
Is that just basically any thought that isn't loving, or
I would even say like every thought that we think.
yeah, any thought?
Any thought, like images, fantasies, plans, future, past, anything that, if we want to make it very precise, any thought that is not a prayer, almost. Like any thought that is not directed at present joining, I would say is a magic thought. So of course that's not meant as a base to punish ourselves. I've got so many magic thoughts or so many attack thoughts. It's more like, no, it's now. We can choose again now. And be okay with the change of mind, to allow him to change our mind, and just trust in the process. I'm not doing that, but I invite it, and I'm accepting this change. I'm accepting that inner change. It's welcome.
And do you, so when decisions are happening, apparent decisions are happening, are you constantly connecting for guidance, or would you just say that you're now kind of pretty much being moved on automatic pilot?
No, I'm not. I'm definitely
No.
not. No, it's a practice in every moment, I'd say, or
Mm.
like a chance to remember. I see that it becomes more more natural, like to spend time with him in the morning, to align with him, give him the day, and during the day, like in our conversation or before we have a meeting, like before we two met, I give it to Jesus or dedicate
Yeah.
it to truth, and yeah, just be here, be present, be in the present joining, and uh, everything that is helpful and good will happen. And I'm just here to enjoy the ride in that sense.
Beautiful. So are you still living in community now then?
I'm not.
No.
I have a community, it's called My Son.
Okay.
And he's at school right now.
Okay.
So that's my closer community. But of course, I've got lots of contacts and friends that I'm in contact with. But I also spend a lot of time by myself. Of course, work, there's a lot of admin work involved with workshops and the festivals and just groups and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a wish within me and that I see in others as well. That's a wish for a community. And this is a reoccurring thought over the years. But as I see Jesus direct us, my sense is that a community is not necessarily helpful because sometimes the guidances are very spontaneous. And if you live in a fixed setting, he can't use us that much anymore. Sometimes in the morning you get an impulse and it says, okay, drive to wherever, Munich, Berlin, or around the corner, have a coffee now. And my feeling is if you live a life that is fairly flexible, he can use us more spontaneously. It's something that we
Yeah.
can't predict. So the encounters that we have, because we don't know what miracle will happen, it's always or often involves a meeting somehow, a shorter or longer meeting. He can use us in that way. And so I think community is everyone we meet.
Yeah. Like what anybody that you meet, what are you learning from this person? How can you extend love?
Yeah.
what is in your mind, what are the judgments, and how can you look at everything that arrives on just meeting your brother, I guess.
Natalie, really, like if you have in your mind that every meeting is there to make joyful, it takes a moment to remember sometimes, of course. You know, when you're in line, you're queuing up to pay your groceries. But then like, okay, well, am I here to pay my groceries or am I here to connect with the cashier?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can raise the frequency a bit, you know, just
Mm.
joining and just being present and just, you know, just saying, yeah, thank you, great day to you as well. It's the same words that I would have said without being miracle minded, but being present, it
Mm.
lifts the energy, it raises the energy. And I receive a present, that person as well, and everybody is better off than before. So I think that's the gifts that we can collect from the meetings that we have during the day.
Yeah, beautiful. So with reference to the ACIM festival, obviously you arranged the first ACIM festival in Germany,
That's right.
and
But
and we've now got, go on, sorry.
right, like I saw festivals being organized on Ibiza, starting
Okay.
2014, I think it was. So I saw them being set up, and I thought that was amazing that something like that happened. But they kind of started to, yeah, they weren't as regular. And uh, I started to move. I founded a family, so I was living here in Germany. But literally, like in front of my doorsteps, there was an ashram, like the biggest ashram in Europe. And when I saw it, I thought this is the perfect place for a festival.
Mm.
And that's when one thing led to another. So that's how I could take from what I've seen on Ibiza. I could say, I know that things like this work. So let's see if we can make this here work. And yeah, it's very well received. It's very well received.
So how many of the Germany festivals have there been now?
I think we're into the 11th.
Wow.
11. We had 11, yeah. So, and one will come up in the UK in September.
I know, the
Ooh.
first one of its
I'm
kind.
so excited. Oh my
I
God.
know. Honestly, like I feel like there's just been such a surge in the UK in A Course in Miracles. I mean, maybe globally. It just feels like all of a sudden it's just popping off.
Right.
Like everybody seems to be kind of going, yeah, this is it. This is the one. I know there's lots of pathways, but there's just something about
Mhm.
this text and the lessons that just kind of speaks to your soul, no matter what your background. It's just like it's like heart opening stuff.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about what's going to happen. Well, we don't know what's going to happen, obviously, but what we not think plan is also a bad word. What tell us a bit more about September and the UK.
Oh my God. I don't know. Like all I know is that there's a strong spark
Mm.
and that didn't go away. So I had to react on it or follow on it. And yeah, it's just an enormous push into that direction. And of course, like speaking to brothers to see how a thing like that could work, you see where the doors open, like what kind of venue, what dates are available, how to finance the whole thing, and who's coming as speakers and things like that. So yeah, we found a venue in Derbyshire, I think.
Derbyshire, it's beautiful
Derbyshire.
Derbyshire.
Derbyshire is beautiful, yeah. So
Yeah,
never been there, as far as I can
yeah.
remember anyway. Will be from the 11th to the 14th of September 2025. And it will be 4 days. It will be, every speaker who comes will have a talk and a workshop. But the overall purpose of this is to, of course, learn something about A Course in Miracles, deepen our understanding, practice, and move beyond the words. So it actually becomes a meaningful encounter. And that's actually the title,
Mm.
remembering the kingdom. And that only works when we join minds. Are we ready for true joining? So what we have as a title is really what's being offered. We see first, okay, I'm not really that open to join, but maybe I can choose again and see what happens. And from experience, I can just say that from day to day, everybody becomes more aligned. It becomes more of a natural, because it is natural to join and
Yeah.
natural joining. And sometimes we use the word field. The field just keeps expanding, and it's beautiful. It's
Well,
truly
that's
beautiful.
it. I guess you're seeing in the other, like, the more we are choosing these experiences and we're choosing to join, I guess there's just an opening that can happen, even for somebody who's not done the course, who's new to it, can come into an environment like that and be with others who, can ignite something as well just by being.
That's true. And we play music as well. There will be lots of beautiful live music. And last year in November, we had the last festival here. And there was a guy, he was just the husband of a woman that wanted to come. And he said, okay, I'm going to come with you, but I'm not joining. I'm not going into that room there. He ended
We're
up being
all weird.
such, he was there for the whole thing. Like in the end,
Stayed. Yeah.
in the last gathering that we had during that festival, he said, I didn't want to come here. I stayed the whole time. I don't
Mm,
believe everything you say here, but something feels really good. And he came out of it renewed. And
beautiful.
so it's a worthwhile thing to do, I think.
Mm.
Mm. And yeah, I don't know. Like I'm just I don't understand it. Like it's in a way it's humbling because I don't see my part in this. Uh, but what I hear is, yeah, the Christ needs hands and feet and ears and tongues that can speak for him
Yeah.
and help him
Mm,
to spread the message, to spread the teaching. So I made
mm,
myself available.
gorgeous.
There was something that couldn't be planned, as you said.
Yeah, amazing. So that's September. So that's all. If people want, I'll put a link at the bottom of the video if people want to book on or have a look at it.
Yeah.
And then you've got a couple of other things coming up as well. One around Easter and June, is it?
Yeah, we have an Easter retreat, and in June there's a festival in Germany, also with international speakers, and that will be close to Frankfurt, actually. And the website is just about to be ready. Give me another day or two.
All right. It's not going out straight away.
No,
We'll be fine.
okay, good.
I
Yeah,
can wait.
it would be so great to see you all. Like it's really an open invitation. I know there's resistances coming up around it, like money, time, travels, and do I know anyone there? I don't know. Will I like it? Maybe not.
Mm.
But I think if there's a little willingness to move beyond the doubts, I think it will be a beautiful experience for everyone joining.
Yeah, just a question on that. So with resistance, obviously, financial and
Yeah.
those kind of things that come in. I can't do that because I'm already doing, I mean, I've got one. I'm already doing one in September. So I couldn't do that one, even though there's a little bit of me kind of thinking, well, that'd be great to go to that. I think that'd be great for me.
Mhm.
How can we work with resistances? Do we just uh, put a prayer out around,
Mhm.
if you want me there, make it happen, and I'll just
I
sit
just
back?
relax. Right.
Yeah.
Well, with the resistances, I think he will always turn our side inward and he'll show us what we think.
Mm,
Of course, let's say the prayer works. If I should be there, I'll be there. So I'm there. Let's say I'm there. But the essential thing still hasn't happened because his guidance is foremost directed to us going within and changing our mind because
mm,
that gives us instant gifts and gratification and we start to shine.
mm,
So yeah, I think any idea that speaks to you or speaks to whoever is hearing this right now, use it. Love holds no grievances. Let me not be afraid of love today. I'm happy to be here to be only truly helpful. Things like this to say, okay, I want to let go of my own ideas and hindrances because the miracle is
mm,
always there.
mm.
Oh,
Fabulous.
mhm.
And then lastly, then I'll just ask you about, so your Zoom meetings and the work that you do sort of outside of the festivals, like how can people maybe reach you and join in on some of the work that you do online and maybe use you for mentoring? I might have to book a session actually.
Yeah. Well, I'm on Telegram. You can send me a message on Telegram.
Okay.
I do have a website. It's in German only at the moment, though.
Okay.
And yeah, I think there's a English Telegram group on Telegram and on WhatsApp. And that's how I post my things that I have in English, for example. But you
Okay.
can also always reach out to me, and I'm available for coachings. Or yeah, I think I'll start an English group again soon.
Mm,
And to join.
that'd
Yeah.
be fabulous. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming along and having a chat, Andreas. It's been beautiful to connect with you. And yeah, I will. I'll catch up with you soon. And if you can send me the links, that would be fabulous.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. That was great.
Thank you so much.